Hunt's fingers hovered over the holographic display, trembling slightly as he read the listing for the fourth time. The advertisement flickered in the dim light of his cramped apartment, casting a pale blue glow across his stubbled face. Stellar-class cargo hauler, barely used. Perfect for aspiring entrepreneurs. Minimal wear and tear. Hyperdrive rated for 50-plus light years. Cargo capacity, 500 metric tons. Recent maintenance, receipts available. A steal at only 500 credits. Serious inquiries only. Contact Honest Makar at New Mauritania Shipyard. The price made his heart race. 50,000 credits was exactly what he had. Every last credit he'd managed to save over 3 years of working double shifts at the Talos VII Central Warehouse. Most ships like this went for triple that amount, at minimum. Hunt pulled up the attached photos, squinting at the blurry, underlit images. The ship's silhouette was barely visible against what looked like a sandstorm backdrop, its hull a vague shadow in the golden haze. Something about the engine configuration seemed off, but the darkness and conveniently placed dust clouds made it impossible to tell for sure. "Computer," he called out, voice cracking slightly, "show me current market prices for stellar-class cargo haulers." The AI's response was immediate. Average market value, 157,000 credits. Warning, prices below 100,000 credits are typically associated with salvage titles or significant structural damage. Hunt ignored the warning. He'd been ignoring a lot of warnings lately, from his parents, his friends, even his own common sense. But after 26 years of watching other people's cargo ships come and go, of loading other people's dreams into other people's holds, he was done waiting. The listing had already been up for 6 hours. On a deal this good, he was surprised it hadn't been snatched up already. His fingers moved to the contact button, but hesitated again as he noticed a line of small text at the bottom of the listing. No returns, no warranty, no questions, no law enforcement inquiries. As is condition. Seller not responsible for any existing liens, legal claims, or residual biochemical contamination. Hunt took a deep breath and pressed the contact button. The response was almost instantaneous, making him jump. "My friend, you're in luck. Just had another buyer fall through. Can you come to New Mauritania immediately? And when I say immediately, I mean in the next 12 hours. I have other interested parties, very interested parties. But for you, my friend, I'll hold it. You seem trustworthy through the holocam. Bring credits. Physical credits only, no transfers. Come alone." Hunt looked around his tiny apartment, at the model ships he'd built as a kid, at the cargo pilot's license he'd earned by working overtime for 6 months to afford the courses. All his life, he'd dreamed of the freedom of the stars, of building something for himself among them. Sometimes freedom came with warning labels. He typed his response, "I'll be there in 10 hours. As he began packing his meager belongings and all his savings, his computer chimed one last time. The listing had been deleted from the network, leaving only Makar's coordinates behind. Hunt tried not to think about what that might mean as he shouldered his bag and headed for the spaceport. His new life was waiting on a desert planet just a few suspicious circumstances away. New Mauritania's triple suns beat down mercilessly as Hunt stepped off the transport shuttle. The spaceport, if you could call it that, was little more than a collection of landing pads scattered across the rust-colored desert. Heat waves distorted the horizon, making the distant sand dunes dance like quantum particles. "My friend!" A voice boomed across the empty landing pad. "My very good friend." Hunt turned to see a towering figure gliding toward him in what appeared to be a second-hand hoversuit, its repulsors whining in protest with each movement. The alien wore a jacket that might have once been expensive, but now had the sheen of synthetic fabric, trying too hard to look like something it wasn't. "I am Macker," the figure announced, extending 3 of his 6 arms for a simultaneous handshake. His skin was a mottled green that shifted to nervous purple around the edges. "But my friends, and I can tell already you are a friend, call me Honest Macker." "Hunt," he replied, trying to maintain his balance as Makar enthusiastically pumped all 3 of his captured hands. "Ah, a hunter of deals, of opportunities. You have come to exactly the right place, my entrepreneurial friend. Follow me. Follow me. Watch your step. The anti-grav tiles are mostly functional in this section of the shipyard." As they walked and hovered through the maze of derelict ships, Makar launched into what was clearly a well-rehearsed speech. "You know, this very morning, a Calaxian mining baron offered me 70,000 for the ship. 70,000. But I told him no. Do you know why?" Hunt didn't get a chance to respond. "Because I could tell from your message that you have the soul of a true spacer. This ship," here she is, "this ship needs someone with vision." They rounded a corner, and Hunt's heart sank. The ship in front of them matched the blurry photos only in the vaguest sense that it was, indeed, a ship. The hull, which the listing had described as classic bronze, was actually a patchwork of mismatched plates in various shades of rust. One of the landing struts was propped up with what looked suspiciously like empty fuel cells. "She's a bit dusty from the local weather," Mackhurst quickly, noting Hunt's expression. "Nothing a good wash won't fix. Let me show you the interior. My favorite part." The entry ramp lowered with a concerning groan, releasing a smell that suggested something had died in the ventilation system. Actually, several somethings. Inside, the ship was a maze of corridors that seemed to have been designed by someone with a grudge against logical layout. Panels hung loose from the walls, exposing tangles of wiring in concerning colors. "Custom modifications," Makar explained, hastily pushing a sparking cable back into the wall. "Very expensive. The previous owner, I'm not at liberty to say who, but you would know the name, spared no expense." "What are those scorch marks?" Hunt asked, pointing to a section of the cargo hold where the metal was warped and blackened. All 6 of Makar's hands moved at once in an elaborate gesture. "I'm so glad you noticed the custom heat venting system. Very rare, very expensive. The scorch marks are a sign of quality, shows it's working properly. Some say it looks like weapons damage, but those people, my friend, those people lack vision." A distant boom echoed across the desert, and Makar's skin shifted to a distinctly anxious shade of yellow-green. "Probably just a sonic boom," he said too quickly. "Now, about the engine room. Pure art. Pure poetry. Just don't touch anything that's glowing, or humming, or silent. Actually, let's save the engine room for later. Let me tell you about the included cargo containers. Previous owner only used them once, for completely legal merchandise, of course. The hidden compartments, the factory standard storage solutions, are a bonus feature." Hunt ran his hand along a wall, and his fingers came away covered in a substance that seemed to be changing color. "Interactive paint," Makar declared. "Very expensive. Now I know what you're thinking. Honest Makar, this ship is worth at least 100,000 credits. And you're right. But for you, my friend, and only because you remind me of my own dear offspring, 50,000. Today only, right now, in fact. Preferably within the next... He checked a device on one of his wrists. 23 minutes. Another boom sounded, closer this time. Macker's hoversuit gave a nervous whine. I should mention, he added, all 6 hands fidgeting with various parts of his jacket, that the sale includes free departure clearance, immediate departure clearance, very immediate, almost instant, one might say. Now, about those credits. Hunt pulled out his datapad, trying to ignore the way Makar's hoversuit was now making a sound like a dying engine. Before we discuss payment, I'd like to run a basic systems check. Systems check? Yes, of course, very professional. Macker's skin rippled through several nervous colors. Though, perhaps we could do that after the sale? The diagnostic computer is, shall we say, temporarily offline for scheduled maintenance. I brought my own. Hunt held up the datapad. Standard procedure for any ship purchase. Ah. Macker's expression suggested this was anything but standard procedure in his experience. Well, if you insist on these formalities, perhaps we could start with a more reasonable offer. Say 45,000 credits? A stunning discount, considering the interactive paint alone of... The datapad beeped as it connected to the ship's systems. Hunt's eyes widened as he read the results. The hyperdrive's been modified. These readings suggest it's pulling power directly from the life support systems. A brilliant innovation, Macker brightened. Think of the fuel savings. Though perhaps one should pack an extra oxygen tank for longer jumps. 43,000? And these registration numbers. Hunt squinted at his screen. They don't match the documentation you showed me. In fact, if I'm reading this correctly, this ship was reported 40,000? Makyar's voice jumped an octave. A price so low it should be illegal, though I assure you it isn't. Illegal, that is. Would you like to see the cargo hold again? The color-changing residue is quite fascinating in the proper lighting. Another boom echoed across the desert, closer than before, sand scattered from the ship's hull. Hunt walked to a nearby access panel, yanking it open before Mackar could stop him. Inside was a maze of jury-rigged wiring that would make a safety inspector faint. This isn't up to code, any of it. Codes, my friend, codes are more like guidelines, suggestions. 35,000, a mere pittance for a ship with such character. Character isn't going to keep me alive in deep space. Hunt moved to the cargo hold, his boots clanking on loose deck plates. He kicked one of the walls, and a hidden panel popped open, revealing a space that definitely wasn't on any factory blueprints. What's this? Complimentary storage, a bonus feature. 30,000 and I'll throw in a manual on creative cargo manifestation techniques. Not that you'll need them, of course. Everything about this ship is completely, totally 100%. Hunt's datapad chimed with an alert. Warning. Multiple structural integrity issues detected. Hull breaches detected in sectors 7, 12, and loading. Error. Unable to complete scan. Scanner array may have been affected by residual radiation from possible weapons fire. The hull's been patched at least 7 times, Hunt said, looking up from the scan, with what appears to be recycled food container material. Environmentally conscious repairs, 25,000, a price so low I'll be eating nutrient paste for a month, though that's not relevant to your decision-making process, of course. The desert wind carried the distinct sound of approaching vehicles. Makkar's hoversuit began to spark. Hunt walked to the bridge, settling into the pilot's seat. Despite everything, the questionable repairs, the suspicious modifications, the probably illegal in several systems alterations, it was still a ship. His ship, potentially. The controls felt right under his hands, like they'd been waiting for him. The datapad bleeped again. Caution! Engine core operating at 47% of recommended safety parameters. Suggested action. Immediate overhaul or controlled demolition. 20,000, Hunt said quietly, his eyes on the stars visible through the dusty viewport. And you throw in those cargo containers you mentioned? Ha! Makkar's skin cycled through at least 6 different colors. The sounds of vehicles were getting closer. Deal! Though I should mention the departure clearance I promised is becoming rather time-sensitive. Very time-sensitive. Extremely. 15,000, Hunt said, not looking away from the stars, because we both know whatever's coming over that dune isn't the welcoming committee. Makkar deflated slightly, his hoversuit sinking a few inches. You drive an unfairly reasonable bargain, my friend. He glanced nervously at the horizon, where a cloud of dust was rising. Though perhaps we could complete this transaction with a certain urgency. I find paperwork so much easier to handle when there are no witnesses. I mean, no distractions. 15,000 credits, Hunt said again, pulling the physical currency from his bag. Final offer. A massive plume of dust rose from behind the nearest dune, accompanied by the distinctive whine of law enforcement gravitics. Makkar's hoversuit gave one last protesting spark and dropped him unceremoniously to the deck. Done! Makkar scrambled up on his own legs, all 6 hands reaching for the credits. Though might I suggest we complete this absolutely legitimate transaction in the next, 30 seconds? Hunt held the credits just out of reach. Registration transfer first. My friend, my very good friend who I've known for almost an entire hour, perhaps we could... The ship's proximity sensors screamed to life. 3 patrol vehicles crested the dune. Makkar! A magnified voice boomed across the desert. This is the new Maritania Commerce Authority. Remain where you are. Makkar's skin turned an interesting shade of panic purple. Would this be a bad time to mention that the Commerce Authority can be somewhat unreasonable about certain documentation requirements? Minor details, really, mostly involving import taxes and export taxes and possibly some misplaced colony development funds. Hunt's fingers flew across the ship's control panel. Despite the jury-rigged systems and questionable repairs, the engines hummed to life immediately. Maybe there was something to be said for creative modifications after all. Registration, transfer, now. Makkar pulled a wrinkled document from one of his many pockets, hastily stamping it with 3 different appendages. Signed, sealed, and technically legal in at least 2 systems. Now, about those credits. Hunt handed over the money with one hand while inputting launch coordinates with the other. You never answered my question about the scorch marks in the cargo hold. Would you believe they're from a celebratory fireworks display inside the ship? Actually, perhaps it's better if I don't answer that. Makkar backed toward the exit ramp, credits clutched close. Though I should mention that if anyone asks, you may want to avoid mentioning my name, or this planet, or the fact that this transaction ever occurred. The patrol vehicles were getting closer, their sirens mixing with the growing roar of the ship's engines. Last thing, Makkar paused at the ramp. The ship's name registration, the previous owner called her the legitimate business transaction. He shrugged. All 6 shoulders seemed a bit obvious to me, but who am I to judge? The Commerce Authority vehicles were close enough now that Hunt could see the weapons mounted on their hulls. Time to go? Time to go, Mac agreed. Oh, and one final detail. The rear deflector shields only work if you hit them exactly 17 times and whisper a specific Andromedan prayer. Good luck. With that, Macker sprinted down the ramp and disappeared into the swirling sand with surprising speed for someone who'd been hoverbound moments ago. Hunt sealed the ship, his ship, and fired the main engines. The entire vessel shuddered like it was coming apart, which, given the earlier diagnostic results, was a distinct possibility. But it lifted, breaking free of New Mauritania's gravity with a defiant roar. As he aimed the ship toward the stars, Hunt caught a glimpse of the scene below. 3 patrol vehicles in a standoff with an empty patch of desert where Macker had somehow already managed to vanish completely. A master of creative business practices to the end. The ship's computer crackled to life. Wearing multiple systems requiring immediate attention, suggested course of action, prayer. Hunt laughed, plotting a course away from New Mauritania and its aggressive Commerce Authority. The hyperdrive spun up with a sound that suggested it was being powered by optimism more than actual technology. The stars beckoned through the viewport, his viewport now. That if it was not perfect, it was because it was trying to do too much, and not that he should or couldn't do better. Yes, there were probably enough law violations in its modification history to fill a library, and the smell in the ventilation system was definitely getting worse. But it was his, a ship of his own, ready to carry him and his dreams to every corner of the galaxy. As the hyperdrive engaged with a noise that definitely wasn't in any maintenance manual, Hunt smiled. Sometimes the best opportunities in life came with warning labels, and suspicious stains, and possibly illegal modifications. But that was tomorrow's problem. Right now, he had a cargo hold to clean, a deflector shield to figure out, and a galaxy of possibilities ahead of him. He just had to hope the life support system would last longer than the Commerce Authority's interest in one slightly suspicious Starship sail. The ship disappeared into hyperspace, leaving behind a very satisfied seller, some very frustrated authorities, and a lingering smell that would probably take years to explain. Just another completely legitimate business transaction in the Outer Rim. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I hope you enjoyed it a lot. If you did, please be sure to give it a like. Feel free to comment and share this story too. It helps the channel grow. Let's make this channel huge together.